We're talking Tribe with somebody who knows everything there is to know about the Cleveland Indians. She is the MLB.com Tribe beat reporter. It's Mandy Bell joining us now on Indians Baseball Insider. And Mandy, the Indians have won 7 of their last 10, and they put together their most complete offensive series of the season with what they just did in Detroit in sweeping away the Tigers. With everything that's happened over the last week and change with Cleveland, what did this team show you this past weekend?
I think the biggest thing was that they can block out the distractions. And I know that they went into the series with a lot of distractions. And the biggest thing the team wanted to make sure was that that wouldn't carry on to the field. And I think that's why they made the decision they did to option both Mike Clevinger and Zach Plesac down to Lake County. And so that didn't have to overlap. And whenever they got that out of the way, I think they saw this as a great opportunity to try to turn around their season a little bit. I mean, they had been on a decent stretch, but that Cubs series last week was probably the worst of the year. And so they had to get back. They couldn't let that just unravel. And with how short this season is, they had to respond quickly. And with having a series against the Tigers and then the Pirates back to back, seems like a great time for them to be able to pick up steam. And so they took advantage of that opportunity. They didn't allow that to escape them. And I think that they're at least in a good space and at least building confidence after that series against the Tigers. And if that rolls through the Pirates, then maybe they can continue that momentum.
We could certainly talk about the pitching at length. That has been the talk for most of the season when you're talking about positives with this ball club. Let's look at the offense. Franmil Reyes is 11 for his last 22, Mandy. How big could this be for the Tribe?
I think it's even bigger that they dodged a bullet with him missing, having that hit by pitch on his hand and it not hitting a bone somehow, because that's a scary spot where he got hit. And whenever you slowed it down in that slow-mo replay, it did not look good. I don't think your finger's supposed to look like rubber. So I was a little nervous there whenever I saw that for his sake. But whenever he talked to us after the game, he said, "No, I'm good. Let me show you." And he's like, "I'm fine." And so I think that was the biggest break they could catch, because they've been struggling to not only just get hits, but to have somebody be a consistent hitter for them. And so he's been doing that now for over a week. And they cannot afford to lose their best hitter right now, as Lindor started to show signs of heating up in the series finale on Sunday. I mean, Carlos Santana got a hit, but maybe he could be slowly starting signs of coming back. Jose Ramirez has been great. Cesar Hernandez has been great. And the last thing that they could do was to take that spark plug out of the lineup in Franmil Reyes. So I think that was the biggest thing, is that they should be able to have him moving forward now and keep putting him in that lineup, because, man, when he gets on, it is fun to watch.
Did you think that this past weekend against Detroit, Mandy, when you think about the rest of the lineup, the outfield has been a revolving door type of situation, but they go with Delino DeShields in center field, Tyler Naquin in right. Of course, we could talk about left field and Domingo Santana being the possibility. Bradley Zimmer still up here. But do you think we're at a point with Oscar Mercado getting sent back to Lake County and having not played only one time in the previous week, that this outfield might be taking more shape?
I think so. It's tough because they just have so many outfielders to choose from, and they're just trying to find the bat that they could just ride that hot hand. That's the big thing, and they're just looking for offensive production. And I think when they saw the way that DeShields has been hitting since he rejoined the team, they obviously knew what he could do defensively. They knew his speed, but the fact that he's been providing at the bottom part of that lineup sort of solidified the fact that they could trust him and put him more, because they've said, when Sandy Alomar filled in for Tito for that week, he was very clear, we're not afraid to ride the hot hand. And whenever that DeShields proved that he could do that, I think that gave them the freedom to say, okay, look, Oscar, go down, figure out your swing, figure it out, get your confidence back. Don't have the pressure of figuring it out in game, because that's just the worst place to do it, especially with a 60-game season. I know it's probably the last thing he wanted to hear, but it's going to be something that I think in the long run will benefit him to be able to just get himself back. Because whenever he missed that week, Tito said that he They took Mercado to the cages, worked on that swing. He started to show a little bit more improvements in batting practice, but it just didn't translate to the game on Saturday whenever they put him back in the starting lineup. So I think this will be good, and this allows DeShields at least to claim center field for now. Like you said, Tyler, Naquin, and Wright. And then I think it's just going to continue to be a mix-up between Domingo Santana, Jordan Luplow, especially to see if either of them can maybe get a little bit hot so that they can get a couple back-to-back days in there to keep getting more consistent at-bats and see if that can continue.
How much do you think Oscar Mercado is a part of the Indians' future?
Oh, I really do. I know it's tough, but like it's just so hard to judge anybody on this type of a season. We saw what he could do last year. And not only what he could do, but how he could pull himself out of a rut. And like that was one of the things the Indians were very optimistic about, because I think it was like starting the second half last year, was toward the end of July. He hit his first little skid, and then he came out of it within like 10 days. And we talked to Tito about it, and he said that's really impressive, and that's what we want to see. And it's good to see that he has that head on his shoulders. And we talked to him about it, and he credited Francisco Lindor with helping him and keeping him confident and figuring out how to get through that. He hasn't really had that this year, but again, it's just such a different type of a season. I mean, Francisco Lindor's never looked like this before. So it's just everybody, I think, is sort of adjusting a little bit on the fly, and it's just so hard because this offense is notorious for slow starts. And whenever they're starting off slow and there's only 60 games, you're gripping the bat a little bit tighter every time you go up there because you know you don't have much time to rebound.
Let's turn to Frankie, Mandy, and he leads national storylines when people start to talk about the baseball things going on with the Indians because of just how compelling of a player he is and the future situation. But this has been brought up the last couple of days. The TV broadcast brought it up a couple of days ago that, it just doesn't seem like it's the version of Francisco Lindor people have come to know and love. Maybe a mask over his face has something to do with that. But it was brought up a couple of days ago by Matt, Rick, and Andre, who do a great job. Like they're waiting for that prime Frankie Lindor to come out. Do you sense anything with Frankie? Is part of it maybe just everything going on? Maybe he feels like he has to take ownership and be at the forefront of that, all those things going on beyond baseball. What do you make of that?
To me, it just sort of seems like this is not normal territory for him to fall in. He's not used to struggling like this for so long. And I think the shortened season plays a lot into it. So whenever we start a year and the players know in the back of their minds that there's only 2 months really that they have to go full force. And that's the only time they have. You're entering basically August with every team tied. That's just really, really different than what everybody's used to. And like you looked at Frankie's numbers last year, maybe throughout the season, you were like, he was fine, but you still look at his numbers and he's hitting around 280. So it's just like an off year for him still seems like 280. And so for him to fall into a little bit of a rut to start the season, I just think it might be something that he's not used to. And so he was trying to press the panic button a little bit and say, okay, I need to carry this team because that's his role. And he's so used to carrying the team. And so when everyone else is struggling, he puts everybody on his back and he's like, look, I'll get us out of this. And right now he can't do that. And so because of that, he just looks a little bit impatient at the plate. He's swinging at pitches out of the zone. He's taking the pitches he usually hits in the zone. And he even said that to us one night. He said, I'm not swinging at the things I should be. I'm swinging at the things I shouldn't be. But every time you talk to him, he's as calm, cool, and collected as possible and in the normal Frankie way. And he always says, no, I'm not changing anything. I'm not working on anything. I'm doing me. I'm doing Francisco Lindor. I can get out of this. It's just taking a little bit longer than what it usually does. So I don't think that there's any room for too much concern. This is just a different season. And he just needs to figure out and get things going. And I think Sunday was a great start.
Let's look at the starting rotation. And you've put a bunch of numbers out there that explain the greatness that has been Shane Bieber. I think we've almost run out of superlatives with how good he's been. The one that sticks out, Mandy, and follow her at Mandy Bell 02 on Twitter. There have been 8 such starts in baseball this season where a pitcher struck out 10 or more and not allowed a run. Shane Bieber owns 3 of those 8 starts. What do you make of this incredible run to start the season?
I mean, I just get so excited every time that I know that it's his start night because I just don't know what I'm about to see. And it's just so fun to go into a start like that where, I mean, you talk to every guy afterwards. You talk to his catcher. You talk to Tito. You talk to everybody that watches him day in and day out. And everybody says the same thing. He can throw any pitch in any count. And it's not like it's just like a random great start where they say, wow, everything was working. It's every time. Every time he comes off the rubber, everyone's saying he could throw anything. And that's just so unheard of. And it makes it so fun. And the way that he carries himself even makes it even more enjoyable to watch because he's so humble. He's so down to earth. And he always says, well, I mean, there's still room to grow. I know I can do better. I can do this, and this better. Yeah, it's different. It's great, but I mean, it's so fun to watch. And it's just, every time he takes them out, I swear he's not human because the numbers that he's putting up are just unbelievable. For him to be in the tied for the third most strikeouts through 5 starts in Major League history with some of the names that were on there, like, Nolan Ryan. Anytime your name's beside him, I think you're doing okay. So I don't know. I think the curveball's been a huge weapon, and the addition of the cutter this year has just thrown people off of his fastball, and just the mix of everything. It's just been absolutely fantastic.
Those numbers just reinforce when you see Nolan Ryan once and then you see Ryan in parentheses for 2 other seasons, it was also a reinforcement of just how good Nolan Ryan was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I know we talked to Shane Bieber about that. He was like, yeah, that's some pretty elite company. I'm okay with that, which is it's just so neat.
Is any part of his rise surprising to you?
I don't think the actual the rise itself is surprising because I think we all could see it. I just think the pace of it is surprising. How quickly he turned into this ace. And so, I mean, his rookie year, you could see it was there. His numbers didn't quite back it up, but you could see it was there. He learned so much in that rookie season and carried it through the offseason to get better. And I know being with Trevor Bauer and Mike Clevinger so much helped him during that time period because they're great teachers and they really want the best out of everybody on their staff. He came back the next year, last year, and was just so much better and was really, really awesome. But you could tell he was still not finished. And there was still some concern when the Indians traded Corey Kluber. Everybody knew Shane Bieber was probably going to be the next one. Over the offseason, it was like, oh, Bieber, Clevinger, who's going to be the ace? And we knew that it could eventually be Bieber. We knew eventually Bieber could be the face of this franchise. But everything was eventually. Maybe it would take a year or two. And day one, he was like, nope, I'm here. This is good. No doubts. He just took this season by storm. And all of his stuff throughout spring training, summer camp, all of it, he just never looked like he just lost a beat. He was just on from the second that this season started, despite the delay of the season happening until July. It's just been unbelievable to watch.
What's amazing to me about this kid is sometimes a rise from a player could come as a surprise for the timing, as we said, the pace that it's been on. But even in the moment where a general fan, and this is why I think in Cleveland, I think the vibe from fans and followers sort of gives off the vibe of, well, we knew he was going to be great when he was standing next to a car getting All-Star Game MVP in Cleveland. I don't think it can be overstated just how meteoric this rise is in such a short amount of time, and it looks like he's the future of the franchise. But it is amazing that when he did have the spotlight in front of not just baseball fans, but that night where the All-Star Game's going on, everybody's watching the sport, he was also great in that moment.
I really think that's what just sort of made everyone realize, oh, so wait, who's this Shane Bieber kid again? And that's when he sort of went more national. I mean, he took the league by storm when he did his Not Justin Players Weekend nickname for the Not Justin Bieber joke. And I think that was how he first got his name out there. And people knew what he was and who he was, but nobody knew exactly what he was about. And I think that on that national stage, to have it in Cleveland, for him to be some late add to the All-Star roster. He wasn't initially supposed to be on there. He was a replacement. And then he comes out there and he does what he does. And everyone's sort of looking around like, oh, maybe we should pay more attention to this Bieber guy. And then whenever we did, MLB had the players vote. They did the vote early on the season where everyone can vote for, oh, who's going to win the most Cy Youngs or MVPs or do all these things in the next decade. And so they had us go around and ask a couple of the players to see what their votes would be. And so many people voted for Shane Bieber for however many Cy Youngs. And so I think everyone started to see it a little bit last year. And I think if we would take that vote now, he would even have way more votes than what he had in spring training, because he proved like this is for real.
Mandy, it really is a testament to, and I know that you've talked with Terry Francona, Chris Antonetti about this. It was talked about in the preseason. How would you explain the way that the Indians identify those pitchers in the draft or just coming up through the minors, the way they're able to develop them and the ability to find those fits for their future?
It's truly unbelievable the way that they're able to do it. I don't know if I have like anyone could come up with an answer of like just how they can do this, because it seems like they're one of the only organizations who have this keen of an eye to be able to find something. They made trades in the past. They've made like ridiculous trades where people are like, what are you doing? You're giving up a star player to get some minor leaguer in return. Well, out of those types of trades, they got Corey Kluber. Out of those types of trades, they got Mike Clevinger. And then their scouting has been unbelievable. You look at the 2016 draft, well, three-fifths of their rotation is from that draft. So you have Plesac, Savali, and Bieber all coming from that. There's something that they see, and there's something that they prioritize that maybe not all organizations look for. And there's something that they know, okay, he has the one ingredient we need that we can tune up and that we can turn into something. And it's just the way that they're able to see the potential of a player 5 years from now, 4 years from now, rather than what he is in this moment. It's just truly incredible.
Well, we thought going into the season that the rotation would be one of the strongest in baseball. The bullpen carried a question mark next to it, and they have a top 5 ERA in Major League Baseball. Obviously, this can go from pitcher to pitcher. But overall, how would you assess what you've seen from relievers?
It sort of seems like the same thing as last season. There was a big question mark. Now, the biggest focus was the outfield last year, and so that took away from the attention that the bullpen probably would have gotten. But I still think everyone was like, I don't know how I feel about this bullpen. And they then ended up posting the best ERA through the end of August last year. And it's a scrappy relief corps. It's weird. It's just not the typical build up. It's not the huge name guys that you're used to hearing coming out of there. They just have a scrappy bullpen that Tito is able to manage so well. And that's why I was so curious coming into the season to see how the 3-batter minimum rule would affect that, to see if would that change the way Tito's able to have such success with his bullpens. It obviously hasn't. I mean, it really hasn't really affected them too much at all. And the way Oliver Perez has just thrived, no matter what rules thrown at him, it's been impressive to watch. And I think that we still had that same, I don't know how I feel about it coming into the year, but I mean, it's the same thing as last year. They figured out a way to get this done. And I think the addition of James Karinchak really just took this bullpen up a level from last year. So I think that he brings them a lot more, obviously a lot more strikeouts than what they had in the past few years. And I think he's going to be fun to watch.
And charisma, too, to that bullpen, which is a lot of fun to watch. It feels weird saying this, but the team, over the course of their next 3 series, they're going to hit the halfway point of the season. What kind of window of opportunity is there here? Because they do have 3 against the Pirates, another 3 against Detroit, where they've won 20 straight over. And then fittingly, in a place where you could have some momentum, you've got the Twins coming into Cleveland.
I mean, it's obviously huge. I think this stretch is great for them to build momentum. Like I said before, Pittsburgh, Detroit, I think that could allow them to get more confidence. And that's what they've been lacking. When Sandy Alomar filled in for Tito during that stretch, that was the biggest thing that he hit on every day. We don't see confidence. And you can tell that by the body language that there's no confidence at the plate. And he said that is everything. If you have that, you can turn things around. But when you don't have that, it is really, really challenging. And so I think that this stretch could help build that before they have another series against the Twins. I think the expanded playoffs really, really help, especially take some pressure off. But no matter what, every team wants to win the division. They don't want to be the team that comes second in the division but still gets in the playoffs. The goal doesn't change. They're still hoping to get to the postseason, but they want to win that division. And so they take those games against Minnesota as seriously as they can. They build them up. Ever since last year, they said, we circle all those games on the calendar and we can't wait to play those. And after Minnesota took the division last year, I think they're ready to reclaim it again this year. And they want to show, we're still here, guys. Don't forget about us. And I think that this window is huge for them to build up, get that momentum, and then take that straight into the Minnesota series, because the last time they faced them, they didn't quite have that momentum going in.
Turning back to the Plesac and Clevinger situation, the news came out on Monday from ESPN's Jeff Passan that things did get testy in the Indians meeting. Those two did get sent back to Lake County. Clearly a message sent to them. What's your temperature on this situation? Any thoughts on how you think it ends up playing out?
I think the fate all lies in Clevinger and Plesac's hands. I think they eventually do make it back to this team. I don't think this is something where they say we're just not dealing with this year. The whole organization understands the benefit of those two guys in their rotation. It's impossible to argue. You need them to have a success. You really, really do. And I hate to say they got lucky on this timing because they don't want to deal with this at all. But if they have to, this timing isn't horrible because of the off days that they've had. They've been able to get around it. They've been able to skirt around it where they don't have to shake up the rotation too terribly. But I do think that they're going to bring them back at some point. Now, the way that it happens with the clubhouse, I think is all going to be in their hands. I mean, they have to be remorseful. They have to show that they want to, come back and earn their trust back. It's tough because, especially with the report that you said from Jeff Passan, it sounded like a lot of distrust is there. It broke a lot of the trust that they had with their teammates. Some of their teammates, I know it hurt some more than others. As everything does in life, and people respond to it in their own ways. And so I think as long as they understand that and understand that maybe some guys are more hurt than others and they need to put some more work in with other people, I think it has a chance of them coming back and this blowing over and they can move on, but it's in their hands.
I don't think it's, and I'm curious to get your thought here, I don't think it's fair to say, Trevor Bauer went and threw a baseball over the wall last year and that's what led to him getting run out. The Indians, I think, were looking into possibilities with Trevor Bauer's future before that ball was thrown. There's a lot of complexities there, and you just said it. You'd have to be blind to not understand the fact that these two are so valuable to this rotation going forward. That I just don't get the sense that this incident, and maybe things will take a sharp turn, and maybe they'll make their own bet, but that the Indians, when this all went down, that they were thinking to themselves, well, trade possibilities are out there. We've got to look into that. What sense do you get when people do bring that up?
I don't think that this is something that will cause a trade. I really just don't. I know the timing last year, and especially because it was just last year with Trevor Bauer, doesn't help whenever people are starting to assess this. But like you said, I really think Bauer was going to be moved no matter what. He was talked about over the offseason. You saw the package that they got back in return for him. The haul they received, I mean, that was insane. I think that they would have been crazy not to take that deal. So I think that was on the table no matter what. And I think they were leaning toward that no matter what. And it just so happened to be horrible timing with one of the weirdest things I've ever witnessed in baseball. So this year, I don't think that they're emotional in that sense where they say, you guys burned us, we're going to try to look for trade opportunities now. I don't think that that's how it works. If there would be a trade out there for, say, someone like Clevinger, and it would break the bank and they're sitting there thinking this is a huge deal for us that we can't resist, then sure, maybe they do it. But it is not going to be stemmed from this, and I really don't see a trade with Clevinger or Plesac at this deadline at all.
Last but not least, are you okay with Fernando Tatis swinging 3-0?
I was surprised that we didn't lead with this, so I knew it was going to have to come up at some point. Yes, I am. I mean, I think we had some StatCast guys tweeting out earlier today from their account saying the Padres 2 years ago lost a game that they were down, or that they were up by 7. Last year they lost a game that they were up by 7. I mean, you think of all these things, and it's just like the game's not over yet. And so if he sees a pitch that he likes and it just so happens to be a 3-0 count, swing away.
He's everything that baseball should be striving to be. He's got great charisma. He's extremely talented. Oh, by the way, he's only 21 years old, and he's lighting the Padres on fire. This is a lot of fun to watch, and it does show you, Mandy. I think one thing that we can point back to last season and in this 60-game sprint this year, the young talent in this sport right now, it's in good hands.
It really is. And when you talk about Tatis, during the shutdown for the 3.5-month span from the coronavirus, MLB had a MLB The Show competition between a player from each team, and Tatis was the representative from San Diego, and he couldn't have been more fun to watch. I covered some of those nights, and I was just watching everybody's live stream, and he had more fun doing that than I've seen anyone have fun doing anything. And it was just like whenever you start to see some of these guys, Juan Soto was in it, and he was having fun. I mean, I think the future for baseball is so bright because they have such characters, and they have guys who aren't afraid to show their personalities, engage with fans, engage on social media. And I think it's really, really going in a positive direction.
Follow Mandy on MLB.com, Indians.com as well for Tribe Stories, and at Mandy Bell 02 on Twitter for the latest on the Tribe Major League Baseball. And Mandy, I'm going to say this right now, not to insult our other Indians media members. I'm going to put you number one in the power rankings for sunsets thus far this season, which is, I know, an honor that matters.
Oh, it matters way more than anyone would think it would matter. So I greatly appreciate that. I take pride in trying to track down as many sunsets I can. So I really appreciate that honor.
Mandy, thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you.